Let's dive into one of the weirdest, most fascinating puzzles in all of American history, the absolutely unbelievable list of connections between Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. So, we have to ask right up front, are we just looking at the single biggest coincidence of all time? Or is there something else going on here? We're going to lay out all the facts, and you can decide for yourself. Okay, so let's start at the beginning, with their rise to power. Because it turns out, their political careers seem to follow the exact same script, just separated by a century. It's this weird historical echo. I mean, just look at these dates. The timing is just wild. Lincoln gets elected to Congress in 1846. Kennedy, exactly 100 years later, 1946. Lincoln becomes president in 1860. Kennedy, yep, a perfect century later, in 1960. It's almost spookily precise. And it wasn't just about the timing, it was what they stood for. The core of their presidencies lined up too. Both of them were huge champions for civil rights, really making it a cornerstone of their time in the White House. This shared mission just adds another deep layer to this whole thing. And from here, the connections get even more personal, and honestly, a lot sadder. They shift from the public stage right into their private lives, marked by a truly heartbreaking and shared tragedy. This one is just awful. In a tragic echo, both First Ladies, Mary Todd Lincoln and Jacqueline Kennedy went through the unimaginable pain of losing a child while their husbands were president. It's a deeply human sorrow that connects these two families in the most somber way. All right, this is where the story takes a much darker, much more chilling turn. We've got to talk about the final, fatal day for both of these presidents. So, the first shocking detail. Both presidents were assassinated on a Friday. Now, by itself, maybe that's not that strange, but as just one piece of this massive, growing puzzle, it's definitely unsettling. And the specifics of how they died are tragically identical. Both men were killed by a single gunshot to the head. The parallels are now getting frighteningly specific. But hold on, because the web of connections doesn't stop with the presidents. It actually expands to include their assassins and even the men who took their place. And yeah, this is where it goes from strange to straight up bizarre. Okay, you gotta follow this, because it's a two-parter. Both assassins, John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, were Southerners. And here's the absolute kicker. Both presidents were succeeded by their vice presidents, who were also Southerners, and both were named Johnson. I mean, what are the odds of that? And if you think that's wild, the rabbit hole goes even deeper. Check out their birth years. Andrew Johnson, Lincoln's successor, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, Kennedy's successor, you guessed it, 1908. That's another perfect 100-year gap. It's unreal. Now let's look at the assassins themselves. John Wilkes Booth, born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, 1939. There's that 100-year echo again. Both guys are always referred to by their full three names. And get this, if you count the letters in John Wilkes Booth, you get 15. Lee Harvey Oswald, also 15. Come on. And the story of the assassins has one final eerie twist. Neither man ever actually stood trial for their crimes. Both Booth and Oswald were killed before they could be brought to justice, taking whatever secrets they had to the grave with them. Okay, so if you thought it couldn't get any weirder, you might want to brace yourself. The final few connections we're about to show you are hands down the most bizarre and mind-bending of them all. This is probably the one you've heard before because it is just incredible. President Lincoln had a secretary whose last name was Kennedy, and President Kennedy, he had a secretary named Evelyn Lincoln. Seriously, you just can't make this stuff up. And how about this one? The Ford connection. Lincoln was assassinated at a place called Ford's Theater. Kennedy was assassinated while he was riding in a Lincoln limousine, a car made, of course, by the Ford Motor Company. The name Ford is just stamped on both of these tragedies. Okay, this next one is just wow. The week before he was killed, Lincoln had been in a town called Monroe, Maryland. And the week before he was assassinated, Kennedy had famously been with Marilyn Monroe. The Monroe connection, it's just so strange. And for the grand finale, the final jaw-dropping parallel, look at this. It's the paths of the assassins perfectly mirrored. Lincoln was shot inside a theater, and his killer, Booth, fled to a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and his killer, Oswald, fled to a theater. It's the exact same sequence of events, just in reverse. So we end up right back where we started. Now look, a skeptic would say this is all just our brains trying to find patterns, that if you look hard enough at history, you'll always find overlaps. And they might be right. But when you see it all laid out like this, one after another, the 100-year echoes, the names, the places, the mirrored tragedies, you just have to wonder, is this all just one gigantic, mind-bending cosmic coincidence? Or is history trying to tell us something? That's one to chew on.